face, no.
In other news, Max Holloway is staying at 140 with 155 and moving from 145. So staying at 155 lightweight, it's a big announcement and some possible fights. Max has done well at 145. He's had a good trajectory at 155 as well. A BMF title, according to him, stays at 155. According to Max, it's a 155 title, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I think Charles should fight Max for the BMF belt if he does away with Chandler. That would be a good fight for both Holloway and Oliveira to either climb up into lightweight title contention or just be another snake in the game of snakes and ladders in the lightweight division. I mean, we spoke about this. Charles has had a lot of finishes when he was on his run. Max has only been knocked out once. I think that's a good fight to make. I think Arman should also fight Islam which is now hasn't been confirmed at the time of me writing this, but so they're fighting for the lightweight belt, which has been confirmed. I think that should happen while Ilia is out of the picture. Let's see what happens there. I think Ilia and Arman is also a great fight to make, just from a stylistic point of view. I think it's exciting for UFC, exciting for combat sports, and exciting for a UFC Europe card. Speaking of featherweight, Lopes is pretty smart to issue an interim title challenge to Volk without even being able to and having that power and there even being an interim title. Volk obviously being only interested in a title fight, which makes sense for him and where he's at in his career from a PR and marketing perspective as well. Volk has always been really smart, especially with his vision of the collaboration between football and the UFC in Europe. I think the Islam and Ilia fight is the one to make, but I do see that a Volk fight with Ilia and a subsequent Ilia win would make a title fight at lightweight against Islam undeniable for Ilia. With that being said, if I was Ilia, I would feel a Volk fight unnecessary. He already beat Volk and there isn't any unfinished business. I don't see this as being a fun fight either. I don't see the fans having much interest in any hype materializing from the build-up. Like I said, if the UFC wants to compete with American football and basketball, they need to put together more spectacular fights on each card, and it isn't really about names, but like I said, fighters need to have storylines. That's what's going to get people to pay to watch the UFC, when they are invested in the outcomes of their favorite fighter. And I just wanted to say, like people are saying now that Ilia is bigger than McGregor and he's going to be a champion for a long time, and they're giving him his flowers now and stuff. But it's something we knew about Ilia, that he had that star power, that he had that potential, that he had it in him, and I think it was always a part of his plan. If you had to actually listen to what he's been saying since he came to the UFC, for him to be like a Madridista, for him to have a UFC at the Bernabeu, for him to put Spain on the map and work with a guy like Sergio Ramos to get that going, and just for him to be bigger than McGregor already, he has done more than McGregor already, and for me it's just a thing of Ilia has that potential and he has that power to defend both belts, something McGregor couldn't do. So I think McGregor would even run away from a fight with Ilia, dare I say that, So I really think Ilia has the world at his feet, and I think the world is his oyster, and I'm really curious to see what he plans on doing next. And how he navigates the scene and how he politics the scene as well, just from my own notebook and my own journal, So that would be definitely interesting to see what Ilia is going to do, if he has any comments on the UFC Africa card, how he feels about DDP versus Kamzat, and what he thinks about the open closed arenas debacle here in UFC Africa, and then obviously how they could interpret to UFC Europe, whether he thinks pushing for a Bernabeu event, a UFC event at the Bernabeu before UFC Africa, just what he thinks about that whole process. We haven't heard a lot of his opinion when it comes to the scene in MMA now, so I just like for him also to say hey, what's his opinion on the pound for pound rankings, what's his opinion on the coach of the year, you know. So yeah, it's we need a lot from Ilia, and Ilia is really maintaining his star power well, and maintaining his mystique, which a lot of other fighters don't do. I'm hoping that Alex Pereira does take a page out of his book, which is Ilia's book, and does that. Yeah, because I think that the UFC should have bigger plans for Alex, not just be a person that saves the day all the time in exchange for money. I think he has a great personality. I think he has a great storyline. I think he's an amazing fighter, and I think he really would be, like I said it, and I'll say it again, a great ambassador for MMA to football. So I just think the UFC needs to do a better job of realizing who their real star power is, and then just cultivating that kind of and cocooning them to be these titans of their machine, you know. And I think that's what the UFC should really be focusing on.